What if I told you that the very code of life, that is the DNA, could become the deadliest weapon in cyber warfare? When we think about cybersecurity threats, we imagine network hacking, phishing emails, malicious USB drives, or ransomware attacks. But science and technology have converged to create something that sounds like science fiction, except that it is already proven to be real. Cyber attacks through DNA. Back in 2017, researchers at the University of Washington did something extraordinary. They hid malware inside synthetic DNA. And here is where it gets wild. When the DNA was read by a sequencing machine, the malware activated through bioinformatics software and took control of the computer system. They weaponized the blueprint of life itself. To understand how this is even possible, we need to connect two worlds, biology and computer science. DNA, or the deoxyribonucleic acid, is life's source code, made up of just four chemical letters: A, adenine; T, thymine; G, guanine; and C, cytosine. The sequence of these four letters determines every genetic trait of every living thing on Earth. Now, when scientists want to study DNA, they use DNA sequencing machines that read these letters and convert them into digital data. And here's the bridge: that digital data is then processed by computers as binary code, that is, zeros and ones. In this process, each DNA letter gets converted into two digits, that is, A equal to 00, C equal to 01, G equal to 10, and T equal to 11. This is the exact point where biology and computer science collide. After DNA sequencing creates a digital file, bioinformatics software analyzes it, compressing, storing, and processing the data. The Washington researchers did something very clever. First, they wrote a malicious computer program. Then they translated that program's code into DNA language, turning the computer's zeros and ones into A, T, Gs, and Cs. Finally, they ordered this malicious DNA from an online company that creates custom DNA sequence. Yes, you can actually buy custom made DNA online. When this DNA was fed into a sequencing machine, it was converted into digital data. The moment the bioinformatics software processed it, the hidden malware activated and seized control of the system. This proved that DNA is not just a carrier of biological information, it can carry malicious code too. There are two main ways to introduce DNA malware. Route 1, physical attack, or the physical means. The malware lives directly inside a physical DNA sample. An attacker could order synthetic DNA with malicious sequence, pre-coded, and send it to a research lab for testing or sequencing. This sample could arrive as blood, saliva, or any other biological material. Many labs receive samples from external collaborators or vendors. If the supply chain is compromised anywhere along the line, that malicious DNA sample could reach the lab. The moment a lab technician loads it into the sequencing machine, the DNA is read. A digital file is created, and the malware exploits software vulnerabilities to execute. Now, let's talk about the route 2, which is introducing malware through digital means. Here, the malware is not in the biological sample itself, it is introduced through digital data or software. For instance, malicious DNA sequence file could be uploaded to public genome databases that other labs download for research. Similarly, hidden malicious code could be embedded in bioinformatics tool, analysis scripts, or plugins. When this experiment was carried in 2017, DNA malware was not considered an immediate security threat. It was a proof of concept in a controlled environment. The researchers had deliberately disabled security features and added vulnerabilities to a rarely used bioinformatics program to make the attack succeed. At that time, DNA sequencing was expensive, labs were limited, and bioinformatics tools were used on a relatively small scale. But today, everything has changed. We are witnessing rapid digitalization, AI powered bioinformatics tool, plummeting cost of genome sequencing, massive expansion of biotech and healthcare labs, and worrying weak cybersecurity practices in labs. All these factors combined are turning DNA malware from a theoretical curiosity into a real and serious cyber bio threat. Today, hospitals use DNA sequencing for genetic testing. Pharmaceutical companies rely on genome data for drug discovery. Agriculture uses DNA analysis for crop improvement. Forensic labs process DNA as evidences. National genome projects are underway across the globe. If DNA malware succeeds in this ecosystem, we are not just talking about data theft, we are talking about research manipulation, false medical reports, intellectual property theft, and threats to national security. And these are just the few. Now, talking about the vulnerability gap, here's the biggest problem. Traditional cybersecurity tools were never designed to scan biological samples. Your antivirus software monitors files and network traffic, not blood samples or saliva. Moreover, many bioinformatics programs are open source and lack secure coding practices like input validation, fuzzing tests, which increases vulnerability risks. That's why experts believe the first DNA based cyber attack would not come from some movie style hacker. They will likely come from a careless lab, unpatched sequencing software, or an insecure data pipeline. Right now, executing a DNA malware is not that easy. It requires good knowledge of both biology and computer science, lab access, and technical expertise. But as DNA synthesis becomes cheaper and easier, and as sequencing machines become more commonplace, this barrier will lower and lower and lower. So the question is not whether DNA malware is possible. That has already been proved. The real question is, as biology and technology become inseparably intertwined, how prepared are we? DNA is no longer just the blueprint of life. It is becoming a new frontier in cyber warfare and cybersecurity. And the societies, industries, and nations that understand this threat today and prepare for it will be the ones that remain secure tomorrow. That brings us to the end of this video. If this resonated with you, I would love for you to subscribe and join this journey of exploring ideas that challenge how we see the world. If not, thanks for stopping by. I hope to see you again sometime. Stay curious, stay safe. See you soon in the next one. Thank you.